this evening, Mr. Martin Howard.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this wonderful celebration. I'm Martin Howard, and I'm honored to be your host for the evening. Wow, what an evening. Can you believe it? Bill Cockroft is retiring, huh? How about that? Irving Garthwaite Cockroft, IG. Where's the original IG? The original IG's out here somewhere tonight. Go Feathers! All right! That's right, Bill, Uncle Billy Bob, the camel. He's hanging up his skis. He's cleaning out his locker. Then what is retirement? Maybe he's taking one more ride down the hill and skidding through Sunshine Corner. What do you think? For nearly 50 years, Bill has stood guard with the mountain before us. Now, if you were to ask Bill, he would say, it has been easy. It has gone quickly. He would say that if it wasn't for the people who stood shoulder to shoulder with him, day in and day out, the ones that shoveled hand over shoulder, pushed snow late into the night, woke early to clear the deck, to fire up the grill, the ones that dreamed of better lifts, RF chips, and people movers. The ones that pushed the limits on their skis, or in the yard, or with their smiles. The ones that shared a beer or made them laugh. It might have been all different if it weren't for those people. And there have been so many people. People like Feathers Cockroft, Norm Marshall, John Garner, the McCoys, Dave and Roma, Gary, Poncho, Penny. The Cockrofts, Sue and Ryan, Aaron, Caleb, Ashley, and Christian. And people like Bill Jensen, Mike Bierman, Rusty Gregory, Pam Murphy, Jack Edgehill, Les Otten, Mark Brownlee, Caroline Casey, Casey McCoy, John McClellan, Brooke Bien, Chris Bulkley, Gary Reitman, Ed Haig, Craig Albright, Mark Clausen, Julie Brown, Tom Hodges, Clifford Mann, Kathy Copeland, Jack Copeland, Bob Mathieson, Bruce Woodward, Wally Hoffman, Tony Romo, Gary Taylor, Kenyon Sambian, EJ, Roger Smith, Bobby Hoyt, Mike Sprague, John Cora, Ray McMillan, Dennis Agee, Jeff Byberg, Sam Moody, Mike Goldsworthy, Louis Villanueva, Tommy Rocker, Troy Lee, Steve Haig, John Tomac, Glenn Plake, Charlie and Marianne Wallish, Dina Castor, Celia Stewart, Mary Walker, Larry Walker, Dave Gearman, Billy Mitchell, Tony Morales, Dave Worley, Tom Nasradino, Jim Passatino, Steve Brown, John Armstrong, Evan Russell, Tom Heller, Adolfo, Benny, Manny, Cirello. Gracias por todo, amigos. Dirty and Scotty and Ty Buell, Ty Buell, Ty Buell. And those are only some of the people that have crossed Bill's path And there have been countless, countless, countless more. There also have been the jobs. Bill has done just about everything there is to do here on the mountain. His resume reads like a dictionary. Dishwasher, busser, fry cook, server, ski adjuster, ski instructor, ticket puncher, patroller, patrol supervisor, director at patrol, lift crew, lift operator, summer and winter blaster, whatever that is, rock driller, gunner, loader, patrol room attendant, that must have been way down the scale, CPR instructor, we're safe for tonight then, I guess, first aid instructor, snowcat operator, backhoe operator, still arguably the finest backhoe operator on the planet, right there. Excavator operator, dump truck driver, D8, D9, 950, 966 loader operator. How about that, huh? Crane operator, cement batch plant operator, concrete work for lift towers, lift house construction, foundation slabs, chairlift design and placement, Healy tower receiver. That sounds like a painful job. Some of the accomplishments Bill has had here are just remarkable. He was instrumental in developing the load board and maze control for Mammoth. Instrumental in developing mountain ops. Created the first food court. Project manager for countless projects. Uniform design, and he wrote uniform model. Did you know that? Really? General manager, vice president, senior vice president. And then there's the cycling piece. You know, Bill brought cycling to Mammoth Mountain. Created cycling races, mountain and road. He created the kamikaze, the dual slalom, national events, World Cup events, World Championship events. He started the bike park, first in the country. He's part of the USA Cycling Hall of Fame. He was chair at NORBA, chair at USA Cycling, on the board, vice president. One of his most remarkable accomplishments as a cyclist I witnessed, it was 4 years ago, it was in Seattle. It was the Seattle to Portland ride, 200 miles. Bill finished first in 9 hours and 37 minutes. And Mammoth wasn't only a job for Bill. His love of the job was only surpassed by his love of the mountain. And some of the places he shared with me on the mountain, I'll share with you. He talked about in the late 70s, taking people to chutes on Lincoln Mountain was a special day. Tucking down Solitude off of 5 and going as far as you could across the flats and up the incline a bit, and then walking across the rocks to the top of what we now know as Chair 22. You could always find fresh tracks there. Those early years when he was on patrol, his favorite time was having turn-to-turn contests down Dames Road and making it to the top shack of 9. Hop turns, with a couple of hundred being the norm. Everyone had to take breaks. And then there were the late days on patrol, starting off on Dave's Run and skiing 8 or 9 chutes across the top, following the sun
after he retires. I look forward to it. Bill Cockroft, tight with budgets, tight with speedos, tight with games, tight with operations, tight like cruise line, tight like a tiger.
So my one word for Bill is experience. Bill's experience as an industry-leading innovator and game changer, and his teaching to us that as we try to provide the best guest experience possible, we should remember that our guests may not remember what we said or what we did.
First thing that comes to mind when I hear the name Bill Cockroft is Coors Light. He is the only person I know who loves Coors Light.
Hey Bill, sorry I'm having a party today. I'm going to miss you, although I'm sure I'll see you around. It's been a great ride. Love ya. My one word for Bill is fun.
Details. Black pants. Kamikaze. Bill. Torchlight. Night of Lights. Bike accidents.
Cockroft is a great guy who never fails to invite you on a 60-mile bike ride, which is great. It's fun. And sometimes they end up here.
I love Bill's integrity. He's one of the best men I know, and they don't make him much better than Bill. He's pretty incredible. And we all know that. I was going to go with Ballbuster, but that's 2 words. Love you, Bill. Congrats. Well done.
Bill Cockroft is the reason I'm actually still in Mammoth. He gave me a job when it finally snowed 16 feet.
My papa's king of the mountain.
He's my dad.
Always generous.
World-class wheel sucker.
Bill is tenacious.
Bill, it's kind of like a dad. Bill is a good mentor.
Bill is cycling. Bill. Irving. Extra onions.
Lead, follow, or get out of the way.
Total animal.
A fantastic man.
Bill Cheapo.
Electric folks.
That's all?
Good times.
Volunteer.
Grams.
Perseverance.
Injured.
Bill Cockroft. Love.
Oh Lord, it's hard to be humble, perfect in every way. I can't wait to look in a mirror, 'cause I got better looking every day. To know you really still love me, I must be a hell of a man. Oh Lord, it's hard to be humble, but I'm doing the best. Everybody sing. Come on, ready? Oh Lord, it's hard to be humble when you're perfect in every way. I wait to look in the mirror, 'cause I get better looking each day. To know me is to love me, I must be a hell of a man. Oh Lord, it's hard to be humble, 'cause I'm doing the best that I can.
Ladies and gentlemen, Rusty Gregory.
It's hard to be when you're perfect in every way. I can't wait to look in the mirror, 'cause I get better looking each day. To know my is to
Well, as you all know, it's not that hard for me to be humble. I cannot believe you volunteered to sit up here and have people watch you eat. If I'd known that, we would have sent you to more cotillion during your management training day. Forks on the left, little stuff on the outside. So I've been warned by my handlers, Mark Brownlee and Mary Walker. I can't see anybody out there. That's probably better, to stick to the script. First time I've had a script. And, you know, that means that I can't roast Bill the way that I wanted to, so the whole idea about, you know, exposing the X-rated training videos with Betty Jo, the totally illegal parties. I still have 18 stitches scar here on my thumb from the one when I broke the vodka bottle over, well, you remember that night, Bill. Right? And Bill, where's Dave's shot? Listen to this carefully, Dave. You know, when budgets started to become a big deal in Mammoth, we started trying to make some money. Bill used to make his budgets by trading people's overtime that they earned for Coors Light. The legend started a long time ago. Ron Cohen is out there in the dark someplace, and his sphincter is tightening up now. Council. So listen, I'm sticking to the script, even though Martin Howard stole some of it. But I want to be serious for a moment, even though I'm not genetically predisposed to do that, and kind of go over the list of what Bill has done at the ski area. It'll take the next 2.5 days, so bear with me here. So in 1969, Bill started off as a ski patroller. 1971, he became a ski patrol supervisor. 1973, he became a ski patrol assistant director. Bill, you never became actually director of ski patrol, right? That's why you and Gary Reitman were, for those of you who don't know, were like choking yourself. And right? I don't mean to bring up painful memories. This is not a roast. It's just a factual part of his career. That Bill did not get that job. He's had every other job in the mountain except for that job. Ended up like, 20 stories higher than Gary Reitman, just for the record. But he did not get that job. And that's what created this unbelievably burning ambition that Bill had. So in 1973, he became director of lift operations, a concession for not becoming head of ski patrol. In 2000, what's that? Oh, he turned it down. I'm sorry, he turned it down. In 1997, he became general manager of Canyon and Eagle Lodge. Big deal. It's Bill's fault that that tent has been up 16 years. 16 effing years. Actually, it's my weather that's seen. In 2000, Bill became vice president and general manager of all things Canyon Lodge. 2002, in 2007, he became senior vice president of Mammoth Mountain. And in 2008, senior vice president of mountain operations, along with his cohort and partner in crime, Pam Murphy. Hey, look, are there any spotlights here? Because unless there's a spotlight, Pam is not getting up, I can tell you that. So somebody turn the lights on. No, Pam, you're not that old. You look fine in that. You don't need to be in the dark. There, Pam is. So in 2011, Bill continued to be senior vice president, and he brought in RFID and ticketing and those gates that we go through now in the company. And And then he ran a whole bunch of other stuff up through 2012, and he became an owner of the company and a partner, along with Pam Murphy, Bill, I think in 2005. So Dave McCoy, there was a promo film back in the 90s called On the Shoulders of Giants. And it talked about Dave McCoy and how Dave McCoy stood on the Giants of people like Ansel Adams and others that John Muir that were pioneers in the Sierra. And Dave used to say that you know, Mother Nature was important and the mountain was important, but that Mammoth and its success was really all about people. And that was something that Bill actually totally understood and enculturated into the company. We've got some great people here at Mammoth, and two of them are here tonight, and it's dark and they should be seen, but Gary McCoy is out there. Gary? Gary, so great to see you. My boss for a long time. And Penny McCoy. And to show you it's still a family company, I can see him through the dark, Casey McCoy. There's a lot of great people in the company today, and Bill and Pam are certainly those. And to be very clear, all these successes that we talk about tonight, some in fun and some in serious tones like I'm trying to, is really because we were able to stand on Dave McCoy's shoulders. And still kicking it at, Penny, how old now? 102. Amazing. Still running faster than me. So along with Pam Murphy, Pam and Bill really created the Mammoth Mountain that you know today. Bill in particular is responsible for something that we call the Mammoth Way. Pam was very involved in this as well, but it's Mammoth's systematic approach to developing great service in the front lines and creating the right impressions on our guests. And got another great ski guy here, Bill Jensen, who started his career with me back in the 1800s in lift maintenance. Bill Jensen. I stayed in Mammoth and eventually became CEO, and Bill went out and became the CEO of every ski resort in the country, including Interwest and Vail and unbelievable guys. So we both worked for Bill Cockroft in our early days, and I think what Bill taught us had a lot to do with Bill Jensen and my maybe success or at least luck in our later years. So Bill, while he was doing all of those jobs, he was also an expert witness on the stand for ski area defense work with Dwayne Morris, Hancock, Rothert, and Bunshoft. It's some really important cases to the ski industry. Project manager on most of the lift construction projects here in Mammoth. Between the mid-1990s and 2000s, we spent $120 million on new lifts, and Bill was heading up most of those projects. A bunch of inventions that maybe only Bill Jensen and a few of us hardcore ski people really understand the importance of, like the maze design, loading equipment, evacuation methods from skiing lifts. He developed and implemented one of the first mountain bike parks in the nation at Mammoth Mountain in what, Bill, 1980 what? 86? That's like on a Schwinn varsity with no shock absorbers. That's why he's got rear end problems today. Sorry, I wasn't supposed to say that. It's an inside joke for some of us. He headed up countless major events here and elsewhere. Concerts, the fireworks shows, road races, mountain biking races, the Olympics in Atlanta, Georgia. Headed up the mountain biking venue operation. As Martin Howard indicated, he directed 14 years of cycle racing, hosted the Nationals, the World Cups. How many World Cups, Bill? 6 of them. World Championships, creator of the dual slalom for mountain biking and the world famous kamikaze downhill, the single biggest revenue event for Mammoth Hospital in history. Orchestrated made-for-TV events, the kamikaze, the Reebok Eliminator. You know, they eventually eliminated Reebok. Anybody wearing those? Bill goes back so far, I can't believe it. And you were a model for the uniforms? I can't, no wonder they never fit. At least me. He's one of the 25 most influential people in mountain biking, honored for that. Mountain Biking Hall of Fame in 1994, Town of Mammoth Lakes Mobility Commissioner, Chairman of the National Off-Road Bicycling Association, Vice President of USA Cycling. He was a member of the California State University Hospital Management Education Initiative. It was led by its board member, Chancellor Reed. Unbelievable amount of stuff that Bill's done for Mammoth. And Mark Brownlee, who's going to be speaking to you here shortly, who's now, thank God, the President and Chief Operating Officer, the boss here at Mammoth Mountain. Mark and Ron Cohen and Eric Clark, who's also here tonight, a big part of the executive management team here at Mammoth, owes a tremendous debt to Bill Cockroft and to Pam Murphy, and the shoulders of those giants that they stand upon every day to create the success that Dave McCoy envisioned and that they are now delivering on a day-by-day basis. So all these things that we talk about in Mammoth of what we want to do in the future, we have Dave McCoy to thank and Bill Cockroft for what he's done, and I've never been more honored to be able to call you my boss. So that's all the serious comments for tonight. I can't believe I did that, so I'm going to start drinking. You never know, I'm going to pop up here, make a few extemporaneous comments as we go along. Just remember, the statute of limitations has run on all the things that I may tell you later. Have a great evening. Bill would want us to have fun. I can't believe we're going to watch him eat all night long.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, our next guest has had a storied career in the ski industry. And what many people don't know about this guest is that storied career was launched here in Mammoth. You see, while Bill Jensen, his career was launched one fateful night many, many years ago when he decided to take off with Dave McCoy's ski boat. You see, while Bill, in the dark of the night, hooked up Dave's ski boat and headed for Lake Shasta. Now, while Bill's not quite the mechanic Bill Cockroft is, he didn't quite get that old trailer hitch hooked up right. As he and his amigos were heading down the grade into Lake Shasta, that boat was launched right over the guardrail into the lake below. And that's how Wild Bill Jensen's storied career in the ski industry was launched from Mammoth. Ladies and gentlemen, Bill Jensen.
Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here, especially tonight for Bill, and to celebrate his storied career here. But a couple things because remarks had been made. Yeah, the boat, the famous line as we were at Lake Shasta, the lake was down about 75 feet, and we were trying to turn around the truck, and I can remember some people that aren't part of Mammoth anymore, they're long gone, but Bumba down in the shop, and who puts a 2 5/8 inch hitch on a boat when you only need a 2 1/4 inch to get the job done? But it was the Mammoth way. So anyway, we were trying to turn around on this little ledge, and the famous line was, you heard it pop, and you heard the safety chain snap, and my friend Lee Conklin said, the boat's loose. So it was an interesting adventure, and we eventually got the boat out of the lake. Unfortunately, the trailer was 125 feet underwater. That took a little longer to recover. We had a great week of water skiing. This incredible individual, these are life lessons that I've carried with myself. In Reading, had an amphibious duck that we used to recover the trailer 125 feet under the water with a winch and a couple divers. And anyway, we got the boat out, and he had us called his wife, and he said, I'm bringing home 2 hungry, tired boys. I have dinner on the table, and they're spending the night. So we stayed at his house, and he let us use the shop, and we basically, he asked us if we had ever put a boat back together that had been underwater. He gave us a long list of things to do. So anyway, we enjoyed the week, and I asked him how much we owed him, and he said, well, I'm sure Dave McCoy's got insurance, so it's $900. You have to understand this is like 1975, and I know for sure I was well paid. I think it was at $4 an hour at that point. And I said, okay, well, I'll go back. So I came back to Mammoth on Monday morning, and we were out working on the hill, and we had a break in the main lodge here, and Dave was sitting there, and I said, Dave, I need to talk to you for just a minute. And I said, we had a little adventure with the boat, and the first thing he said is, everybody okay? Yep, everybody's fine, boat's okay. But I explained what happened, and I got to the punchline, and I said, so anyway, it was $900 to get it out, and the guy assumed you had insurance. And Dave said, I do. It's $1,000 deductible. So that night I went home from work, I called the guy in Reading, and I explained the story, and I said I told Dave, and he said, this is an important lesson. He said, you guys send me $100 and pay it forward. And we paid that forward a lot of times. So it's a special time. That infamous tent that's been up for 16 years, I did sell the bill from Vail. We only had it up for 1 year, and I remember selling it to him, and the town gave him a permit for 3 years. So obviously Mammoth Mountain Ski Area or Mammoth Resort has a great relationship with the town of Mammoth to get 12 years of extensions. So congratulations. I want to start out. It's remarkable. I just heard this saying a couple months ago for the first time. Mark Twain said, the 2 best days of our life are the day we were born and the day we learn why. And I think for many of us in this room, but I know for Bill especially, Mammoth is his why. We had a chance this afternoon to shoot down to Bishop real quick, and I got a chance to see Dave McCoy, and it was one of the special moments of my life. As it is for many of you, it still is for all of us. Dave is our inspiration. And the message that I carried from Mammoth through the rest of my career is people are important and people come first. And it was a valuable lesson that I learned here. Bill was my first boss in the ski industry 44 years ago. And I can remember walking through the Mammoth Mountain Lodge and saw a sign that said personnel office in November of 1973. and walked in and looked curiously at the girls that worked there and said, "Do you guys have jobs?" And they said, "Yes." And I said, "Could I get one?" And they said, "Yes." And I said, "I will be back quickly." So Bill was my first boss, and I would say, in all sincerity, Bill is the person responsible for the foundation of my career. The lessons that I learned here at Mammoth in the 4 years that I was here from Bill, first one is that there's a creative solution to any problem. The second one is it's all in the detail. And the third one was any job worth doing is worth doing well. But probably the most important thing that I've carried with me, both personally and professionally, over the last 40 years since I left Mammoth, is that when you finish a job, just take a moment and just take a half step back and pick out one thing that you could still do better and then go do it. And I learned that from Bill Cockroft, and I've used that as a model for everything that I do in my career. So Bill, I want to thank you so much for that valuable lesson 40 years ago. So I'll tell a couple Bill stories, and I don't know how he and I ever got into this, but we'd be working here, and I think it was long before skiers were required to pay overtime, so it was a 7-day-a-week love fest of working. But one of the things that we used to do, and for whatever reasons, we used to do these what I call all-night trips to go get things that Mammoth needed. This is long before Mammoth bought that first Kenworth. So I can remember Bill going, "You want to go to Fresno tonight and back?" "Sure, why not?" "You want to go to Redding tonight and back?" "Yeah, why not?" "We can run up to Reno, we'll be back by midnight." "Okay, I can do that." But the real treat was, and this is a Bill and Bill thing, this was long, long, long before there was a McDonald's between Los Angeles and Reno. And these road trips were our excuse to go get a double cheeseburger. And we had more than one on those trips over the years. But that time together with Bill, we'd stay up all night driving, take turns, and the conversations and the friendship that developed. To this day, 40-some years later, I call Bill Cockroft my closest and my best friend. So, let's see, my second story. Think about this for a second. Oh, yeah, this is my second story. So after I left Mammoth, Bill convinced me that road bike riding was going to be a great new adventure for me in sport. And I can remember getting my first bike, and Tony tonight reminded me that I was living in the Pacific Northwest and came down and we rode Tecate to Ensenada. And we're talking about maybe that we have to have a reunion ride in the next year or two, and I would look forward to that. But Bill got me my first Eddie Merckx bike, and I have to say, I'm only about $50,000 in the hole now on bikes, because I don't get them for the same price that he does. I've discovered that. He keeps showing up with these incredible bikes, and I'm like going, I have to buy mine. So, he created this love of road bike riding that's been very much a part of my life for the last 35 years. And I want to thank him for doing that. It's something that I love, and it's something I can share with my wife, Cheryl. We've got to travel the world and ride. But unlike Bill, and I have to be very careful saying this, I have yet to find myself laying in the middle of the road. Knock on wood, somewhere in this old gondola building, there's a piece of wood somewhere. I know it. And then the last thing, and I think this is an important moment this evening. I want to recognize and acknowledge Sue. Sue came to Mammoth 43 years ago, and I think she has played an incredible instrumental role in the success of Bill and his career, and has been a true friend, not only to Bill, but to so many of us. And Sue, I just want to thank you for being the person that you've been for the last 43 years. And I guess I'd like to close with that in life and in career, I think the true measure of success, it's not financial, it's whether you made a difference. And I can say, in all sincerity, not just for Mammoth, but for the entire ski industry, Bill Cockroft made an incredible, incredible difference in our sport, in our industry, and we're all so appreciative of the contributions you've made, Bill. And from the bottom of my heart, I want to say thank you. I want to say well done. And I'm proud to call you my friend.
All right, Mighty Mouse is up next. You guys ready for that? It's getting a little sappy around here, isn't it? Oh, boy. Well, the next guest, oh boy, the next guest. She's probably going to talk for half an hour. Where is she? She's hiding out. The next guest needs no introduction. She's our resident superhero and keeper of Billy Bob's sanity. She has ridden up high volcanoes, right? And scaled tall cliffs. She's able to type emails at lightning speed. And she set the Guinness World Book of Records for the most reply-alls ever. Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, Caroline Casey, our Mighty Mouse.
Mr. Trouble never hangs around when he hears this mighty sound. Here I come to save the day. That means that Mighty Mouse is on the way. Yes, sir, when there is a wrong to right, Mighty Mouse will join the fight. On the sea or on the land, he gets the situation well in hand. So though we are in danger, we never despair, 'cause we know that where there's danger,
Good. So, Bill, thank you for the invitation for me to speak this evening. It's truly an honor. However, I have to sidebar before I get started. So, as Bill well knows, and my new boss Pete will soon quickly find out, and as Martin alluded to, I do everything like about 5,000 miles an hour, which is generally good but can be to my detriment. And Monday, I made a large error. I pressed send. I discovered the worst word in Mammoth. I mean, we're talking like worse than any curse word. Terrible. There's two words actually. Formal attire. My inbox was like, dude. phone like came off the desk. Mark Brownlee somehow found my new desk. He's like, hey, what's going on over here? And there it is. But I do think everyone looks lovely this evening. Even Todd Buell is wearing a, Ty's looking good there. So thank you. So Bill, I've spent the last 2,000 miles on my bike trying to decide what to say this evening. And honestly, it's been one of the hardest challenges to try and put our relationship into words, and for me to properly express my gratitude to you for all that you've done for me. The Webster's Dictionary defines a mentor as a trusted counselor or guide. Many of you in this room have tried to find a mentor in your life, and some of you have had the lucky experience of having one. But I can confidently say that on April 23rd, 2005, I struck gold in the world of mentors. It's been 4,571 days, and not one day has passed without Bill teaching me something. Bill's contributions to Mammoth, the ski industry, the bike industry, and the town of Mammoth Lakes over the past 48 years have been endless. My own perception of Bill is that his true greatness lies in his work ethic and attention to detail. Bill is the mastermind of looking at every situation, analyzing what could and will go wrong, and creating a plan for perfect and seamless execution. How many of you tonight would have remembered to adjust the room temperature down 2 degrees due to the 300 bodies filling the room and making it warmer? Or measure the distance between the back of your chair to the one behind you to the precise 56 inches so that you can comfortably rise without bumping into the person behind you? Bill does. I mentioned work ethic earlier, and Bill has the unique ability to lead silently through his actions. Most of us in this room have quietly cursed him under our breath as we have dragged fence or stacked equipment late into a workday or in the 14th hour of an event. But the ironic thing is that over time, you realize the value in what he was doing at that moment, and you start to impart some of those actions and routines into your own life. These actions and routines I'm going to call Bill-isms. On the outset, Bill-isms are kind of harsh and overly simplistic, but the more you understand the meaning of the phrase, the more you understand Bill and his values. The first Bill-ism is any day on a bike is better than no day at all. A couple of weeks ago, I found myself 5 miles into a 90-mile fondo, climbing a 16% grade, massive headwind. And at that moment, my thoughts were all negative. But of course, Bill's phrase popped into my head, any day on a bike is better than no day at all. And it chuckled inside of my head, thinking back to when I was injured, couldn't ride, stuck in a meeting, couldn't ride. And my negative thoughts went away, and I enjoyed the rest of the ride fully. Thank you for that. The second Bill-ism is his favorite quote: "The anticipation of death is worse than death itself." I learned this one a few years back in an interview Bill did for the local paper. Again, kind of harsh on the outset, but so true in 99% of the things we do in life. Bill's a very calculated person, but he's also a doer, and I realized through his quote that most of the time, if you dive into something head first, it's going to work out okay. Over the last few years, I often sat across from him in his office worrying about the what-ifs. What if the weather's bad? What if the band gets stuck in the snow? What if, what if? And Bill always looks at me and just says, what if? Get up and go, girl. So Bill, here are a few personal thank yous. Thank you for sharing your passion of cycling with me and making me understand the lifelong pursuit of being a good cyclist translates directly into being a better employee, friend, and partner. Your simple motion of a hand wave of where to sit in to get the best draft, how to change a flat, or as you say, tap my foot for some help, what to wear to look fast, even though you might not be fast, and of course, for helping me buy the Porsche version of a road bike, thus setting a trend for the rest of my life that I will always need the best carbon setup, meaning I better keep working hard. Thank you for somehow making work a steady constant in my life that I've derived much personal self-confidence and development from over our time together. Your driving force for us to produce incredible events has given me the greatest satisfaction in my life. Thank you for taking a chance on me and making every day of the past 12 years richer and more full than I could have ever imagined. I'm so grateful to you and Sue for your support in every aspect of my life and for providing me with the tools to be successful here in Mammoth for years to come. I wish you the best in the next chapter of life, and while I say goodbye this evening, I look forward to many more bike rides, conversations, and adventures in the future. Thank you.
Are there any Scotsmen in the crowd? Aye? Cockroft? Where are you, man? 50 years, man. Are you stupid? 50 years in the snow, man. You must be mad. You must be stupid, man. What will you do next? Raise sheep for another 50? And why the hell are you leaving the place to a Scotsman? Are you mad, man? We're all doomed. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Brownlee.
And I see the whole army of my countrymen here in defiance of tyranny.
Wow. Pretty classic, an Australian. It's apparently true. Everyone does want to be Scottish. There we go. So I want to start out this evening just by clarifying something that's very important in all of the retirement parties that have been happening with Mammoth. And that you only get one. So we got this habit of people turning up to work the next day, and these things are really expensive. I'm Scottish. I think money's flat for stacking it. But what a great evening, and I feel very privileged to be a part of the group here, our Mammoth family, brought together to honor Bill. So thank you all for being here. It means a great deal, and cheers to all of you. I started working for Bill in the mid-2000s. I started working at Mammoth in 1997, so a real short timer, 20 years here. And during my time at Mammoth, I heard of this legendary senior management group that worked together with Rusty Gregory. And these were the leaders of our company. And I heard that there was sometimes some combat and some competitiveness within that group, which inspired them to next levels of business within our company. And those people I worked for were John Armstrong at times, Clifford Mann, Dennis Agee, Jack Copeland. And then on my path towards Bill, I ran into this lady that sometimes could singe your eyebrows with just a look, let alone breath. And her name was Pam Murphy. I know tonight's about Bill, but I saw Pam earlier on and I said, don't hold anything against me. Greg Dallas wouldn't let me speak at your retirement. The time is now, and you're going down there. So I was working for Pam, and I worked for her for a couple of years, and she was really instilling into me what working at Mammoth, or what, as Dave McCoy once told me, you get to work at Mammoth, not you have to work, right? So Pam was feeding me into understanding getting to work and instilling the values in me that are Mammoth's values. And I got to the stage where I knew that I'd had my Highlander blood transfused out of me, and I had Mammoth blood in my veins. And I was a true disciple of Mammoth. I still am. But I was also a disciple of Pam's. And that was great. just march or die. And I was in this very room one day, and predictably or unpredictably during this department head meeting, Rusty had one of his famous reorgs of the company. The screen was over there or over there, and the screen came up, and all of a sudden my name wasn't in the box underneath Pam Murphy's name. I was like, just to show that I can do the social media, you know, I was WTF. I don't swear anymore now that I'm American. Well, not a lot anyway. It depends who you ask. But my name wasn't underneath the Pam Murphy box, and I was just flabbergasted. My life ended. And I looked for my name and I saw it underneath Bill Cockroft, Chief of Uniform Design. I was like, oh my God. I'm going to have to do something really bad here. I got work for Vail or something. It's like, this guy, the only thing I know about Bill Cockroft is that he's really committed to biking, and so much so that he'll wear his Speedos while pushing a snowblower, so he's ready for any eventuality in weather. He was actually prototyping I don't even know if this is true. Bill, don't tell us because some people feel ill, but I heard there was like a prototype of a heart meat hamburger to save money in the cafeteria. I was just beyond it. The meeting ended, and jammed in the door by another Pam Murphy disciple by the name of Oren Tanzer. And he had the same role, and he's like, there's no way on earth I'm working for that guy Bill, he's crazy. We ran up the stairs, got into Mary's part of the office, and they're like, we need to meet Rusty now. It's very, very important. And Mary's like, have a seat, boys. Don't get too volatile here. So we're sitting in those two chairs that sometimes you get into when you're in trouble, and outside Rusty's office, hanging out there, and waiting for Rusty to come up. And really, like, first time we're going to have a serious meeting with Rusty, and we're strategizing how we're going to win. And Bill wanders up, and I'm like, oh no, this isn't good. Bill's like, hey guys, how's it going? And we're like, pretty good. Are you here to be a part of the new team? We're all like, no, we're here to tell Rusty we don't want to work for you. Bill looked at us both and just raised an eyebrow and sauntered past and went into his office. And Rusty turned up, and we walked into Rusty's office, and we had our claymores, and we're ready to do battle. 3 seconds later, we're back in Bill's office telling him how stoked we were to be working. Unbelievable. Yeah, but on a serious note, when I look back to that day, I didn't realize how important it would be in my life specifically, and it made a great deal of difference to how I went about doing business in this company. And like others before me, I really benefited from Bill's mentoring, and I loved every minute of it. So thanks, Bill. That's the one nice thing I'm going to say. So I talked about this. Rusty has this thing called combative transparency. So when you're not really telling people what you really think, he decides to tell them, even though you've been in confidence of what you really think about them in front of them while you're sitting there. And it's very combative and it's very transparent, and it's fun, right? I embrace conflict because of that, and I love it. Not everyone does, though, but as I said, you know, the senior management group back then, or the former EMT, it was complete combat for competitiveness. And after interviewing many of those members and documenting their time on that team, it's not my opinion, so I just want to clarify that these are not my specific thoughts, but Bill and Pam were locked in combat for a number of years, and really trying to outdo each other, Mammoth East, Mammoth West, and getting after it. They had each other's backs, but there was some competitiveness going on in there, and it really took Mammoth to different levels. And I thought, Pam retired and Bill was retired. I was like, it's great that that competitiveness between the two of them doesn't exist anymore. And I was sitting, looking out the window in my new nice office, which has great furniture. Thanks very much, Rusty. No expense spared. And I was looking out the window going, God, it's great that Bill's getting sent off in a nice way and we're doing a nice evening. And Pam comes in. I was like, hi Pam, great to see you. It's amazing to see one of your mentors. And we chatted for a long time. And I was like, this is a great conversation. And then right at the end, Pam said, so Mark, you know that Bill's event, this is how I go back to Caroline, by the way. You know that Bill's event is formal and is plated and it's a sit-down event. I don't know if any of you were at Pam's retirement. It was like mountain casual and a buffet, right? I can't believe she hasn't thrown anything at me. We're right. Pam doesn't know this, but when we used to have her department head meeting, and she'd be like rallying into someone, I used to just sit there, if I was on their left or right side, and I'd do my eyebrow. Aaron would be like, what are you doing? I got some fire breath, my eyebrows are stitched. But Pam, she called it out, and obviously was very concerned that Bill was running away with a lot of expense to this event, and he was trying, but we reeled him in, there's no doubt about it. And I wanted to be sure tonight that we set it all straight. And if you remember, there are no favorites, right? And if you remember at Pam's retirement party, she was given a beautiful gift by Rusty, and it was a Tiffany's bracelet. So I want to make sure that I give Bill an appropriate gift. Seeing as his sit-down plated dinner cost a pretty penny, we're trying to find balance here, so don't expect diamonds in here, and Sue, don't get excited, Sue, this is a joke. So here's a nice bracelet for Bill. It is a Tiffany box. I got it back off Pam. She was trying to save the budget on this. Oh, it's beautiful. So everything's even. Pam's retired, and Bill, you are retiring, and there's no more parties for either of you. So I was having as part of the cocktail hour, and I ran into one of our esteemed Mammoth community in the morning, and I wanted to ask the audience, how many people have read Tracks of Passion? I've been reading that book over and over for about 1.5 years during the sales process, and I just wanted to recognize, Rusty's talking about standing on the shoulders of giants, and our legacy and the work that Robin put into that book is absolutely phenomenal. It's one of my sources of inspiration, so thank you very, very much, Robin, and I'm sure So I've been reading that book for 1.5 years or so, or longer, but rereading it, because I wanted to make sure that I was true to Mammoth's values and the rich heritage of this company as we were going through the sales process. And no offense to Bill, but I was really nervous that we were going to sell to Vail, and it was going to be a one-size-fits-all culture. Bill wouldn't even need to worry about the uniforms, right? Vail would roll in with the truck, and we'd all be dressed nice and pretty, and our culture would go out the window. And I really want to make sure that as we were going through all the sales presentations, that I really carried Mammoth in my veins and was reminded just what shoulders of giants and people we've stood upon to build this place out. And now that we're a part of KSL and Crown Holdings, it's very exciting to be a part of that iconic group of resorts. And 13 resorts that include Deer Valley School, Aspen are on the fringe, really big players in our industry. And one of the things that we recognized as soon as we started bringing the companies together that wasn't a surprise was that Mammoth has operational excellence on so many levels, and that's something that can be scaled into the entire new company, and it's a real benefit for the company. And that stands on the shoulder, the operational excellence stands on the shoulders of Bill, who's invested his entire life here. But more importantly, in our new company, what we have really established is that the Mammoth culture, and that's a culture of people, accountability, and it was brought up previously of fun, is something that the new company really doesn't have in a lot of its areas. And Ron Cohen and I went to Denver for some meetings about culture, and the first thing that we had was David Perry, who was working for Aspen at the time, said, when can you guys come to Aspen and teach us about your culture of leadership? How do you provide a coaching environment? How do you develop leaders from within? And how do you have fun doing it? And that's a huge, when you don't know what's going on in other resorts and you find items like that out, that's a huge source of pride. And Bill, you've been doing that for 48 years, and Mammoth's culture is your culture. And it's a big deal to influence so many people, drive us to the success of the house. But Mammoth thanks you, and everyone thanks you from the bottom of our hearts. It's amazing. So you've got your Tiffany or your Mammoth toy shop bracelet, but you've got a nice box to go along with it. What do you give the guy that has everything? I said to Bill recently, I said, what do you want for retiring? He's like, I'm just going to come to work every day. I was like, no, this is not the point. He said, how about family black pass? And I said, that's so easy, there's no problem there. So I was chatting to Rusty and some other people, and we were racking our brains how to come up with something that was symbolic of what Bill had done for our culture, his investment in our entire company, his innovation, his care for people, and his generosity. And we came up with this as a patch. So I'd like to invite Rusty up onto the stage while I explain what this really is. And we're not that cheap, but we're just going to give you a picture of a patch. Hopefully with a real one somewhere. So this patch, more Coors Light. Maybe you want to spray them with stuff. This patch has a huge symbolism in our company. This is a patch that Dave McCoy does in a one-off piece of work. And or correct me, but this patch was Dave's idea of what it meant to be in our Mammoth team and how you were recognized for your commitment to our entire company, to our people, to the community, and really taking our whole culture through and developing it throughout our entire company. And it sat in a drawer for a long time, and Dave was leaving, and he said, you know what, Rusty, I never got this done, so you need to get it done. And as I was explaining to Rusty some of the ideas I had to recognize Bill, Rusty brought out this patch and told me that story, and I was supremely touched. And I couldn't think of a better way to honor Bill than to have an innovative program that revolved around recognizing excellence, but most importantly, recognizing the people who have contributed the most to our community and to our mountain and had fun while they're doing it. So tonight, we'd like to roll out a new program. And it's not called a patch program. Our marketing department is way better than that. This new program is called the Order of the Woolly. And you should think of it as the Mammoth Hall of Fame for people that have added value. And they're getting recognized by their peers as having a significant contribution. And it's not just a patch. We're going to take the woolly statue and Is Chip Platt in here tonight? No? He's another guy. He retired. He's still working. He designed this. So it's hard to see here, but the Clamper statue or monument for Dave is in the background. And then the front of the Woolly has a railing. And each part of this railing is going to have the Mammoth Hall of Fame or the Order of the Woolly members recognized front and center in our company. And when I was thinking about what to do with this and where to put it, I really thought about Bill could take his grandson, hold him up, and talk to him about the legacy and the history of all that he's been involved in, and his contribution and love for Mammoth. This is Bill Cockroft, 48 years of service. And like I said, front and center, and the proud moment for Rusty and I, and the privilege, is to recognize Bill this evening as the founding member and the guardian of this new program. So congratulations, Bill. Thanks for all you've done for us. We love you. This is way better than the Masters. Some secret society wording, so only you can get into. We're going to hold a once-a-year event for members of the Order of the Woolly. They're going to come into here. They don't have to roll up a trouser leg, but they definitely need their jacket. Bill's going to be dining alone this year, so Pam, you'll be happy. It's going to be a cheap affair. But once he gets going, there'll be more people. And then on the lapel is 48 years of service. And I'd just like to present Bill with this plaque that is a replica of what's going to go in front of the Woolly statue. All right, Bill, you're up.
Attention, Night of Light staff. We have no sound. We have no sound. The only question is, what would Bill do? Bill would say, the show must go on. Send the M's. Send the M's. The M's are on. Okay, great. Our M's are coming. Quicken it up, M's. Quicken it up. Find your way to the stage. Find your way to the stage. Follow Lauren. Lauren is your leader. She's on the left side. Your right, my left. That's good. Let's go ahead and cue Snowcats. Snowcats. Beacons on. Snowcats. Beacons off. That's good. Cue the eights. Cue the eights. Eights are coming. This is good. Anthony, we need bigger sound. Anthony, bigger sound.
Okay, no more power, Bill. This is it.
That's fine. It looks good. It looks good. Cue the boom. 3, 2, 1. That's a great show. She's all yours, Bill. You're such a funny guy. I don't know really how to follow that, but true stories. Yeah, thanks, Clifford. Thank you, Martin. Thank you, Mr. Jensen. Thank you, Mr. Gregory. Thank you, Mr. Brownlee. Miss Caroline. Thank you all very much for kind words. You know, some of those weren't really true, but you know, you get the point. Obviously, thank you to my lovely wife. So I won't stay up here all night, but I do want to tell a short story, and I'll go into, you know, some fun things. I'm a camel. My nickname is the Camel. Yes, I've had a few injuries, but I've recovered. I've stayed strong. But let me go way back. It was I was 21 in the summer of 1969. I was sleeping on my cousin's couch. Norm Marshall is right over here in Los Angeles. I was working for Taper Flex Ski Company, Brown Fins Company, and all of a sudden I decided I wanted to get a job on ski patrol in either Heavenly or Squaw Valley. My folks lived in San Mateo, thus the northern affiliation. I had a first aid card and I could ski okay, so off I went to be a patroller. Right before I left the house that day on my way out, Norm, we call him Sandy, said, you know, I should go by Mammoth on the way to Tahoe. Not knowing of Mammoth, I looked it up, and on September 10th, I arrived in the dark and spent my night in a VW van out at the bottom of Chair 1, right out there, awakening to 6 inches of new snow. I would first meet Pam Moranville, rake, in the main office, and then interview with the patrol leader, John Garner. John hired me provided I could pass the ski test when there was enough snow. With that news, I forgot about going to Tahoe, and I was headed home by Yosemite in my VW van to face my father, Navy Captain I.G. Cockroft. And to let him know that his son, who he sent off to college and stopped short of graduating by a few credits, was now about to become a bona fide, and I guess you would call it a professional ski bum. So my dad, who will be 98 in a few weeks, is sitting right over there with my family. My sister, my nephew, my cousins, including Norm, the guy that told me to go to Mammoth, and my son and his wife. And now, my grandson Caleb. So I probably called John Garner every day to see when I could come up to ski test, but his answer was always the same. Not enough snow yet, Bill. So finally, I packed up and moved to Mammoth, hoping for the best. It was October 6th. And there was finally enough snow. I passed the ski test, got the job, but now I couldn't start work until around Thanksgiving when the skiing really started, the season. So I picked up a job by day or by night at Welch's Pancake House, cleaned up construction sites by day, awaiting the start of my real job. In the beginning of November, I quit my village jobs and volunteered on the mountain putting up snow fence in exchange for lift tickets that I could use at a later date. I figured that eventually my dad would forgive me and come skiing, as I would have free lift tickets for it. And yes, he did come skiing, and as the years went on, he became very fond of Mammoth and my lifestyle here. I headed out one crispy November morning with the snow fence crew. This is my volunteer work, riding in the back of an old Tucker snowcat. Headed for the top of Chair 5 when I first met Dave McCoy. You can imagine the impression he made on me. He was working right beside me doing the exact same job I was doing. I really knew then
that I was in the right place. I saw him work for Dave on many more snow fence jumps those early days. And for the next 48 years, he would teach me and inspire me each and every day. Even if I was just asking him, if he was just asking if I was just having fun. Yes, he's still. Finally, just before Thanksgiving, I was officially out as a patroller. And so my career began about 48 years ago. I looked in the mirror as I was getting ready tonight, and I said to myself, "Self, you're now 70 years old. So what did you do with your life?" So I'll tell you a little bit about that. I have a great wife. Family, and a beautiful home in a place many people call Mount Paradise. And I've worked for a company that was more like going to college than going to work. Because I was learning something new every day and having fun with the Mammoth fraternity. I've met thousands of people during my Mammoth adventure that I've been influenced by, and I hope that my influence on them was positive. About 300 of those people are right here in front of me. People like Bill Jensen. Bill is our most famous lift operator in the ski industry. His story and career path are like no one else. We've been lifelong best friends. Mary Walker, Miss Organization. She really runs most of the company, but has been a strong partner of mine in events for many, many years. Gary Rowe, Dave Gearman, Ray McMillan, and Steve Brown. I know you're out there. There's about 120 years worth of working together on the lift group, not counting my years. Rusty Gregory, you know, he began working for me in 1977. You heard his story. He was a lift operator on Share 16, and go figure. He was as good as there was, getting people on that old fixed grip lift and having a good time in it. I remember, as a token of appreciation, Gary Rowe and I took him skiing on Share 9 on the clock. Yes, you guessed it. We spoiled him. Went to his head, and after 16 days, off he went to the next job at Mammoth. It must have been an ADD thing. Tom Smith, we knew him as Jaws, and along with Bo Cunningham, they were captains of Warming Up 2, an island by itself. Celia Stewart, in the early 80s, she ran our dispatch center underneath chair number 1. I remember that she called in one morning to say that she couldn't come to work. She was there the day before, and all of a sudden she calls him the next morning, "I can't make it to work." She had given birth to Courtney that morning, early morning. Think about that for a second. Evan Russell. My first year I fractured my fibula on Chair 7. He came down from the main lodge and picked me up to take me to the doctor. So many work experiences and family vacations with Kathy and Evan. Tom Heller. We go way back to the U.S. Forest Service days. At Mammoth, and then all of your years at Mammoth Mountain Ski Area. Fast forward now to Mammoth Lake's Fire Department Fire Marshal. You know, I hope you can stop writing me the tickets when I park in the red zone at the Mountain Center. Tom's wife Mary has brought me back to life for my annual Mammoth Cred episodes so many times. And oh, there's such a strong rumor that you're moving to Idaho. I want to get the Mammoth Cred again. Mike Sprague. Met Mike on his first job at Mammoth Mountain Ski Area. Does anybody remember the bridge tunnel at the bottom of Chair 2? A couple of you. As a skier, cross over and under. Mike's welding days at Mammoth Mountain Ski Area began there. It was one of our summer projects. John Cora. From day one at Mammoth, I was always pushing guest service. I idolized what Disney always did. Then I met this guy, Vice President of Operations,
at Disneyland. And we became great friends. I would take him skiing and he would take me to lunch with Mickey. That connection helped in Mammoth with so many ways. As a side note, take a look on YouTube at the episode called Boys and Blues, where our ski patrol shot a once-in-a-lifetime footage inside the park at Disneyland. If you haven't seen it, I urge you to go and take a peek at it. Needless to say, no one in the world would ever be able to do this in our day and age, so you'll have to see the clip. Pam Murphy. I could speak volumes on my years with Pam, but I was probably most famous for suggesting that she be promoted to general manager. That position was the third or fourth most senior position that Mammoth had at the time. Pam was given the job, and the contest in guest service, employees, and finance between the East, Canyon and Eagle, and the West, Main Lodge, was on. It was referred to as the Pam and Bill Show. Casey McCoy, I've known this guy since before he worked at Mammoth. He was a little guy. We'd go water skiing with his family, but he always went to Maui. In 1977, when I was asked by Rusty to relocate to Canyon Lodge and be the GM there, I asked Casey to come along with me and run the finances. With the new ticketing system with Sirius, the challenges were enormous. And thanks also to Norma Mann for helping to hold us together. Casey and I have been partners ever since. Wally Hoffman. In 1984, Sam Walker offered up Wally to help me and Dale Johnson put on a bike race in Mammoth. Wally was the marketing lead for Sam's restaurant. And we went off to develop what turned into 35 years of road and mountain biking races in Mammoth. Mark Brownlee, our president. They challenged Obama about his birth and citizenship. I know, not a biggie, Mark, but did you get a green card yet? Nah, just kidding, because I know you did. In fact, Mammoth saw so much potential in you that they assisted you in getting it. Dennis McGibney. In my years in operations, I would negotiate snowcat purchases with Dennis. And I was always trying to find the bottom in pricing. And I was always joking with him and saying that he sells cats. And I was always joking with him and saying that he sells the cats for cheaper because he didn't need, sell us the cats for cheaper because he didn't need to have a college fund for kids. He didn't have kids. Well, times have changed. Dennis and Megan had twins a few years ago, and the piston bully prices have gone sky high. Gary McCoy. I always wanted to ski like Gary McCoy. Prettiest skier on the mountain. Dr. John McLennan. My bike riding partner since 1984. My biggest praise for Dr. John is they put me back together after I broke my femur 10 years ago, and if that wasn't enough, he put me back together with another broken femur 4 years ago. Yay, John! Clifford Mann. You know, I've worked with Clifford forever. My biggest memories were all of the jobs that he and Mike Bierman and I would tackle. In the earlier years, the three of us could always be found at the scene of the crime, so to speak. Clifford is still at the scene of all those crimes. Carolyn Casey, a girl with so many titles. Adopted daughter for us, for starters. Assistant manager, team leader. You know, Carolyn arrived in my office 12 years ago, applying for a job that I had open. She was working in Los Angeles for the Tennis Channel, and she came by 3 more times and I finally hired her. What was I thinking of? Why did it take me so long to hire this keeper? If you don't know Caroline, she has more drive and energy than any 6 of us in the room, and I owe you so much. Tom Hodges, Mr. Planning. Along with Martin Howard, we designed and built so many projects at Mammoth. Parts of Eagle, Panorama Gondola Bottom Station, all of Canyon improvements, Village Gondola Top and Bottom Stations, Mountain Center retail stores in the village, With Pam Murphy, they did the McCoy Station. And now they're back at Canyon Lodge, but this time, I'll be absent.
No way.
Ty Buell. Ty has talked to me about Burning Man for 20 years, always saying that I should go. 6 years ago, Sue and I went. We went back several times, more times after that. Ty's a real tiger with huge amounts of energy. Roger Smith. Great to know this man, and we'll miss the Saturday evening safety meetings in his house after work. Rogers, how many cases of beer do I owe you? Cirilla Rodriguez. I've gotten to know Cirilla in my later years, but it's been a pleasure to work with you, and I've always walked away from my work with you with a big smile. My list goes on. I've got with another 200 names and short stories, but I'm going to stop here and tell each and every one of you all, including Sue, my wonderful wife, my family. You've made a difference to me in my life at Mammoth. Thank you.
On behalf of Bill and Sue, Rusty and Mark, and the entire... What a wonderful evening we've had here tonight. Bill doesn't want the party to stop.